Liminality, witchcraft. How do these two things relate to each other? What is liminal witchcraft? What's liminality? That's what we're going to talk about today. For anyone who's been following me for a while, you know that I talk a lot about hedge witchcraft and liminal spaces. By now, you've probably heard me use the term liminal witchcraft, but you might be wondering, what does that even mean? The way I would describe hedge witchcraft is that no two hedge witches are the same. How I describe hedge witch might be completely different to how someone else describes it. I would mainly describe hedge witchcraft as working both with nature and with liminal spaces. Hedge witchcraft is like a mix of eclectic witchcraft, green witchcraft, and even kitchen witchcraft. But hedge witches do not follow a specific set of rules or dogma in their craft. We very much follow our own path, and it's very common for hedge witches to practice non-traditionally. For example, I don't really use spell jars, and this seems to be a topic that lots of people want to know about. Because I don't really work with them, I don't have that sort of traditional experience. The way I practice witchcraft is by working between worlds, as most of the hedge witches do. And by working between worlds, for me, that means working with and within liminal spaces. A liminal place is any time, place, or even state of consciousness that is somewhere in between. There are so many different examples of liminal spaces, and it is usually in these spaces where energy is at its most potent, and the veil between worlds and dimensions is at its thinnest, and things are overlapping with each other. Some good examples of liminal spaces include entryways, doorways, running water, rivers, almost any water of any kind really, holy wells, natural springs, beaches, stone circles, forests, crossroads, cemeteries. But I think you're starting to get the idea. Liminal spaces do not only apply to physical locations, they also apply to times of the day and times of the year. Some examples of liminal times of day include midnight, twilight, sunrise, and sunset. As for times of the year, the most liminal time of the year is Samhain, aka Halloween. Liminal spaces are places and states of being where the veil between worlds is at its thinnest. In these spaces, you're more susceptible to paranormal experiences, weird energy, and unexplained phenomena. But states of consciousness can also be liminal. Whenever you find yourself in a meditative state, you're in a liminal place. And usually if you're deep enough into these meditative states, weird things start to happen. Through meditation, for example, I've managed to visit the Akashic Library. Through meditation, I've managed to connect with my friends on a spiritual and mental level over vast distances. Dream worlds can also be considered to be liminal. Mind-altering drugs are considered to be liminal. The state between being awake and asleep, superliminal. Transition between child and adult, so being a teenager, it's a liminal state of being. Those few weeks between the seasons, very liminal. There are so many different examples, but we will be here all day if I just start rattling a list of these off. So if you're a witch and you actively work within these liminal spaces, then you likely practice some form of liminal witchcraft. Now don't get me wrong, all witches work with liminality to some degree, but liminal witchcraft involves those liminal spaces being at the front and center of your practice. You can usually tell when a space is liminal because something will feel off about it. The temperature will feel different to everywhere else, or you can even feel some form of presence. The energy in these spaces is so potent and so different to what we experience in real life, and you really pick up on these differences when you're in these spaces. And when I say off, I don't necessarily mean that as a negative thing. I always have to say this. Darkness does not always mean negative or bad, just like light doesn't always mean positive or good. You need to get yourself into a space between darkness and light, and that space is incredibly liminal. Liminal spaces are often transitionary periods, times, or places. So another good example of this would be when you have to go from one place to another. Your house or wherever you're going from is point A and your destination is point B. That journey that you're taking in between, that is a liminal space. It is a transition. There really are so many different ways that you can interpret liminal spaces, and there are so many different kinds. When it comes to combining liminality with witchcraft, there are lots of ways in which you can do it. The way I do it is through rituals, meditation, altered states of consciousness, and even utilising paranormal aspects within my craft. I also like to go out and find these liminal spaces so I can then do my work in them. If you would like to know more about liminal witchcraft, then this is the channel for you. I feel like I'm finally at a point on my path and my witchy journey where I can share liminal witchcraft with you. I'm looking forward to sharing my journey with liminal witchcraft. I've been wanting to share this with you guys for so long, and I'm sure there's already a lot of you out there that already practice liminal witchcraft. You just might not know it yet. I'm also very convinced on a base level all hedge witches are liminal witches. But if you're new to witchcraft and you want to look down some of the obscure, more unknown paths, then liminal witchcraft is definitely one that you should look into. I will periodically be uploading videos and sort of webinars about this subject, going into the different aspects of what I class as liminal witchcraft. Each video will focus on something different, but it will have an overarching connection. This series will cover liminal spaces, liminality, hedge witchcraft, the paranormal, high strangeness, and how all of these things connect to each other. I hope you're looking forward to coming on this journey with me, because I've been really excited to share it with you. This was just a little introduction into liminal witchcraft, and I hope you're looking forward to the full series. As always guys, blessed be, and I'll catch you in the next video. Have a super liminal day. Bye.